but you need to take a stand. Just find some soulful harmony and strike up the band.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. I hate to cut that off, but the good news is after this conversation, we'll start playing that up again. Brand new music by Little Feat, Strike Up the Band, featuring Larkin Poe, and that's the title track. And we have today's guest on the line. Let's get him on air. Scott, you with me? You are now. Hey, Scott, you with me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. So nice to have you back on the show. Thanks for your time here today.
Always. Thanks for the support and playing the music.
Oh, 100%. My honor. Let me do a brief intro, if I may. Billboard magazine says, quote, one of the best guitarists in the country, unquote. Greg Allman said, quote, I know all about guitar players. I've seen the very best. And Scott Sharrard is the perfect guitarist for my band. He understands that you don't need to play just for the sake of playing. Scott isn't one of those guys who thinks they get paid by the note. He never steps on the vocals, and he leaves plenty of room for everyone else to do their thing. But when it's time to solo, Scott delivers. Boy, unquote. Scott Sharrard was the music director and lead guitarist for the Greg Allman Band. He is currently part of the legendary band Little Feat. Little Feat recently released their newest album, Strike Up the Band, and will be at Bearsville Theater in Woodstock on Labor Day weekend for 3 shows beginning August 30 through September 1st. Scott's band Eldorado Slim will be at Colony in Woodstock on August 15th. And with that, a warm welcome back to LocalMotion, Scott Sharrard.
Thanks so much for having me again.
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure. What a new album. This is something else. Strike Up the Band.
Yeah, it was a long time in the making. I mean, the seeds of it were planted in really in like the summer of 2020 or the spring of 2020, which I know was a time we're all trying to forget.
Yeah.
But that was when we all started writing tunes. And then we, with Little Feat, when we got back on the road in 2021, we spent a lot of time figuring out how to, fit in. Tony Leone joined the group on drums and vocals, which was amazing.
Yep.
And, he brought some material to the table, and we were playing the old catalog. We went and toured for almost a year where we played the Waiting for Columbus album front to back. We did a PBS special at the Ryman where we celebrated that historic live album from 1978. Or 9. And with Strike Up the Band, we had amassed all these songs over those few years. When you go from 2020 to, I guess we did this and we recorded this in 24. And
where'd you record?
Like the culmination of a few years,
Where did you record this?
So our management is this company called Vector, and we were brought in by this guy, Ken Levitan, who's he's originally from New York. He's a New Yorker, but he's been in Nashville for a real long time, and he represents Michael McDonald and Emmylou Harris and a lot of great people who we love. And he brought his management company down there many years ago. So our management team is there, and they're hooked in with a studio there called Blackbird, which is a really world-famous, world-class recording studio. And the guy who built the place is an engineer named Vance Powell. And they brought in Vance, who, has worked as an engineer and mixer. He's got a really incredible resume. He works with Jack White and Fish and Chris Stapleton and a whole variety of great artists. And Vance came in and agreed to produce, and we kind of all got, under the hood together. And Bill Payne and Vance and I ended up sharing a production credit on the record.
Wow, amazing. Congrats.
It was just real collaboration between the three of us and the band, of course, which these guys all have such incredible musical voices that just bring songs to life. And it was most of it was recorded live, to be honest. We always set up to record everything, the vocals and all the instruments live as much as possible. And a lot of this album was done that way.
Awesome. Wow. Great. Congratulations. Your first album with Little Feat, yes?
So this is my second studio album with Little Feat.
Okay.
I did a record called Sam's Place, which we were nominated for a Grammy for that last year. That was a blues album that we did in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam's Place was the first studio album. And then actually before that, we had the Live at the Ryman, which was only released via PBS, but is going to come out next year as an actual official live album that we're going to market and sell.
Nice.
So technically 3 Little Feat albums, but officially 2.
Nice. And
By next year it'll be 4 because we're talking about doing another official live album too, coming up. So,
man,
that's kind of the deal.
They don't let any, they just don't stop, do they? It's amazing. It's just,
I can't explain it. I mean, these guys, they're just the whole generation. I mean, I've been playing with these guys who are between 20 and 40 years older than me my whole life since I was a kid. It's just been my whole journey. And that whole generation, they're basically, these are the cats who really like, either they really refined rock and roll. These are not the inventors of rock and roll, right? These are, when you're talking about bands from the 60s, late 60s and 70s, you're talking about the bands who, from the Beatles to the Band and Little Feat, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, all these guys picked up the torch from Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Muddy Waters, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and ran with it. Yeah. And that generation is a mighty generation.
Yeah.
They can't stop playing.
I love that. And they're just as good, if not better. That's the thing. Like every time I see people like this generation, they're just as good as ever. I mean, it's amazing to me. It's just amazing. I love reading your bio on the Little Feat website because, we just talked off air. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time. And at the age of 12, you stayed up late to watch Little Feat play on Saturday Night Live. Talk about that.
Yeah. The Let It Roll album. So in my house, they were always playing. My parents were always playing Little Feat music, and Little Feat was really big on the radio in the '80s.
Yep.
You'd have to be there to know, but it used to be just there was a local rock station, and you'd tune in, and they would play Little Feat. And I think the first thing that caught my ear was hearing the live version of Spanish Moon late on the radio one night when I was very young, and I got really cued into the band with Waiting for Columbus and. From the age of 10, I started to play. And then when I was 12, I got a 4-track recorder and I actually started learning that album and Allman Brothers Fillmore East and Jimi Hendrix Acts as Bold as Love. There was a handful of albums that I would constantly analyze, and I was learning the drum parts, the bass parts, the guitar parts, the vocals, and I would try to retrack them. But that year, I believe this was 1989, so I was 13, I think, or 14. But Let It Roll came out, and the word on the street was, Little Feat without Little George ain't shit. And basically everyone was saying, this isn't going to work. So I heard the song and we all loved the song. And then I saw them on Saturday Night Live and I said, oh my God, this is amazing. And luckily that summer I got to see them live a couple times and it was absolutely mind blowing how good it was. Wow. I mean, and everyone was going insane at the gigs because everyone had sort of convinced themselves there's no way to get past the genius of Little George and perform this music. Mm-hmm. And Craig Fuller was out there singing, and Paul Barrere stepped up and took over a lot of the slide guitar parts, and they just killed it, man. And it was transformative for me because seeing them live, they would touch on every style of music, and I was raised on all these styles of music. And here was a band like the Allman Brothers or the Band or these other groups where rock and roll, when it's at its best, is really like a salon of creation. You get to bring together everything you want and tell your story. And they were just amazing at it. And it's honestly seeing the rebirth of the band is the only thing that gives me any confidence to try to do anything with it. And that's thanks to Craig Fuller and the guys stepping up to the plate in '89. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, it's amazing. I love your story. I always love your story with Little Feat, and of course, Greg Allman. You were born the day that your hero Freddie King died, right?
It's an odd factoid, but
Yeah.
I was obsessed with with guitar since I was tiny, and Hendrix was the one, and Chuck Berry, and it's because of two movies. You know, when I used to go to the movies all the time, even when I was a tiny kid, and when I was 10 or 11, I saw I used to go to this movie theater with my parents, and I saw, the Chuck Berry Hail Hail Rock and Roll documentary, and I saw the Monterey Pop Festival. So between those two films, that's still like what I'm trying to do. It's like Otis Redding, Jimi Hendrix at Monterey Pop, Otis Redding with Booker T and the MGs, and Hendrix at Monterey Pop, Sly and the Family Stone at Woodstock. I saw the Woodstock film that year. And that Chuck Berry Hail Hail Rock and Roll, that never gets enough credit for, I'm a Gen X guy, and that movie was huge for musicians my age in their 40s and 50s, because you rediscovered sort of Chuck Berry's influence on people like Eric Clapton and Keith Richards and Robert Cray and Bonnie Raitt, who are all in this thing. And all those artists were also on tour at that time, and you could go see them, and they would have, they'd be bringing out the real blues men and women with them, like Ruth Brown and Alan Toussaint and Dr. John, and all these cats would be coming out on these package tours. It was a pretty rich time for music, actually, when I look back on it. So I kind of came out of that whole period of like those documentary films, and VH1 and radio really shaped my taste. And luckily it was a very rich stew of music, because all these rock artists were talking about blues and jazz, and I saw Jeff Beck and I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan the last year of his life, and all those experiences just completely shaped my view on music, which is that the old Duke Ellington quote of "there's only two kinds of music, it's like good and bad." It's basically like what you like and what you don't like. And that's how all my heroes that I've gotten to meet think of it as well. So I've tried to just kind of toe that line.
Your parents must have had it just always brought you out to music. You listened to it at home. Did you ask to pick up a guitar, or did you just did they just say, "Hey, you want to try that?" How did that start? Like, I know you said you were real little when you started on the guitar. Did you ask for it?
I mean, to be honest with you, basically I just wanted, I guess it must have been the 5th grade or something. There was like a kid who brought a guitar in, and I couldn't get anyone to talk to me. I was a complete outcast in the 5th grade. And I was really overweight. I had a lot of problems, but that kid brought a guitar in, and all of a sudden he had everybody around him, Right. And I said, "Hey, wait a second, I got one of those at home." And and my dad could play one. He's a really good acoustic picker.
Yeah.
Like with the bluegrass claw style and Delta blues and rock and roll and stuff. So he started showing me Jimmy Reed and Chuck Berry and Bob Dylan songs and stuff like that. And I started out playing the rhythm parts, and then I got a little farther, and then, started to learn a couple songs by ear. Los Lobos' version of La Bamba was hot at the time, and that U2 record, Rattle and Hum was out. Learned a couple things on that. And then a couple years later, I was like playing it at school, and all of a sudden everyone was standing around me. I said, "All right, well, wait a second. This is something that I got to look into this a little more."
Yeah, this is something new. Did you take lessons too, or are you just like really self-taught?
Not really, no. I mean, when I started playing, my dad would go, do this, do that, and he would solo, and I'd hold down the rhythm. And then from there, I just kind of I just went crazy with tapes and CDs. Eventually, I just play all day, all the time.
I bet.
All day, all night for just years.
Yeah.
My fingers used to bleed. I used to sleep with the guitar. I'd put the guitar in bed and I'd sleep next to it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, music is your life.
Yeah, I fell for it, and it opened doors for me with people. That's what I was saying before. Is by the time I got to the 8th grade, it really started opening the doors, because the puberty started kicking in, and the next thing you know, you're meeting girls because you play guitar, and your friends aren't.
Yeah. You are, yeah.
And then you're getting gigs because everyone's coming out to the gigs, and then they want to meet this person or meet that person at your gig, and more people come. And And music is, it's primal.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
there was a quote I read the other day by a musician I actually was lucky enough to play with. He passed away a couple of years ago. His name was Orlando Marin, and he's one of the legendary New York City, salsa, boogaloo percussionists. He was a timbale player, and I used to play with him a little bit when I first got to town. And I read a quote of his the other day, and I'd heard him say things like this, but I never heard it said so well. And the quote was, music is the voice and the drum, and everything else is luxury.
Huh. Yeah. Yep.
And for me, that kind of sums it up. It's like music is primal, so it's everyone can tell if the rhythm is right and if the singing is right, and everything else is luxury. Everything else is like, it could be a little out of tune, or it could be a little off, or somebody isn't the best at playing the bass or the guitar or the keyboards, but the voice and the drums, that's it. And I think to this day, that's, even when I'm producing records and working on records, I always gravitate towards the groove and the vocal and the lyrics and like how those things fit together. That's my North Star with everything.
Right. Right. Did you ever think about being anything else except a musician, or was that always just it? You never had any other
all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
today I was just thinking about it.
Oh. You moved to New York.
I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. I think until puberty hit, and then I think I was like wedded to the music thing. But there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things I could have done. I mean, I've had people who run hedge funds tell me that they want to hire me a couple different times because of, I have a real type A mind. That's why I always end up being like a producer, or music director, or band leader of some sort. Like I'm really into production. I'm really into how personalities fit together and how to get everyone to work their best. And I'm really into elevating people with talent that are around me, and I try to surround myself with people who are better than me at all times. So that's kind of my mindset.
That's got to be really hard to do for guitars, because you're pretty up there, Scott. But maybe equal.
No, there's plenty. Are you kidding me?
No,
there's so many great guitar players.
Oh,
now.
there are.
Oh my God,
there
crazy.
totally are. There totally are. But better than you?
I could go on all day. There's we'd be on this call all day if I told you how many guys are great. And by the way, a lot of them you've never even heard of.
Right.
Like Garrett Mason up in Canada, or Dylan Saffler, who's out in Minneapolis. I mean, these guys blow everybody away.
Right. Are they session musicians?
There's plenty of talent out there.
Are they session musicians or no? Doing their own thing?
No, these guys are artists.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is like the worst thing to be now, because there's really no way to monetize that unless I don't know, you cook steaks on Instagram or something. It just doesn't seem like anyone's getting a career out of making a great record anymore. That doesn't seem to. It seems like that's an afterthought. It's more about how your personality engages with the algorithm.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy,
that's
isn't
way
it?
above my pay grade at this point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just kind of crazy.
I'm aware it's there, but I don't know how to play the game.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you don't, and I'm glad that you are fit in exactly where you're supposed to be. It just feels like every time I've seen you play, and I've seen you play dozens and dozens of times, it always feels like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, with whom you're supposed to be doing it with. So you moved to New York after high school. And talk about your first days in New York and who you ran into the producers and all that stuff. Talk about getting to New York.
Well, I'd like to say it was I hit the ground running, but it was definitely a stop-start situation for about the first decade. Mm-hmm. I got to New York City in the summer of '96. I was 20, and I got a rent-controlled apartment with my friend Sean Dixon, who we went to high school together, High School of the Arts in Milwaukee, and we had a band called the Chesterfields. And a couple other members of the band moved to from Milwaukee to here at the same time. So about 6 of us came in a wave. And we found a rent-controlled spot on 13th Street in the East Village. And I remember I used to see, I was, a big fan of the Beat Poets. I had an English teacher who turned me on to him when I was a freshman in high school. And I used to see Allen Ginsberg all the time. This was like when he was dying, though. He used to go to this Chinese restaurant. I'd see him every day.
Wow.
I said, well, I'm going to hang out here for a while. This is pretty cool.
Did you ever talk to him?
And we had a 3-bedroom apartment that was rent controlled.
Amazing.
So it was awesome.
Amazing. And you gave that up?
And we scrapped it out. I mean, we played in Astor Place and got kicked out a couple times for tips, and then we started playing at jam sessions and Terra Blues and Bitter End, and we started getting gigs as sidemen. Our little band started getting gigs. We got a residency at Terra Blues, but it wasn't enough. So for the first few years, Sean and I were both office temps, and then I got a job at the Carlisle Hotel in the purchasing department. I did that for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they wanted me when I was like 23. They wanted me to take over and like be an assistant purchasing director. They offered me like a salary and all this stuff. And I had just met my wife, Alban, at the time, and she was like, "You can't take this job." She's like, "If you take this job, you're never going to pursue music.
Wow.
You're going to be locked into being comfortable." And I certainly didn't have much going on at that point. So.
Wow.
So I quit the job and we struggled quite a bit for a long time. I mean, I did get to meet Ahmet Ertegun, who saw me play at this club, and the legendary founder of Atlantic Records.
Yeah.
And we had an amazing meeting that I've talked about before a lot in the press, but he gave me a couple hours of his time and used to write me letters and check out my projects and tried to help me get signed to a bunch of things. But, I was in my early 20s, and every opportunity he would bring to me was something I didn't want to do. It was like Tommy LaPuma wanted to make a record on me where I was going to do this like Michael Bublé with a guitar thing. They wanted me to wear a suit stuff,
That's not Scott Sharrard.
And I was just like, nah, that's not me.
No.
It's like, that's not my stuff,
No.
But Ahmet did say the same thing about my first album, the Chesterfield's album, that he said about Little Feat, which I found out from Bill Payne recently, because Bill's writing this book and he's telling me the story. He's like, when Little Feat was trying to get signed, we also had a meeting with Ahmet Ertegun before we got the first record deal.
Wow.
And I said, and they were about the same age as I was when I met, and he told him the same thing that he told me, which was that it was too the music was too diverse and all over the place.
Well, they seem to have done okay.
Yeah, so it's funny, but that was a similar note. But Ahmet gave me a lot of great advice, and I mean, what can you say? He's Ahmet Ertegun. I mean,
right. Yeah, legend.
The guy signed Ray Charles.
Crazy. Oh my God, no, legend.
He wrote the song "Mess Around" for Ray Charles. He made Ray's first legitimate record. I mean, he purchased Stax Records, and he signed the Stones and John Coltrane and everybody. Legend
in the music business, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I forged a lot of relationships through him, like Peter Thal, the great publishing attorney who still works with me. God bless him. He's semi-retired now, but Peter has protected my butt from all kinds of problems over the years, and so I made some great connections. But it took when I met Greg Allman when I was 29 years old or whatever it was, in 2010 or 11, whatever it was when I met him, I was getting ready to go to NYU and study like film composing and education. Like I'd never gone to college, and I was like, screw this, I'm going to college. I couldn't get anything happening. And then I sat in with him, and he was like, come join my band. And I was like, oh boy, now I'm going to have to go down this road. And that was, that he kind of pulled me back in.
How beautiful. And he kind of like saved you, I think. And at least you spent a lot of time with him until his passing. And and he also wrote that beautiful song, My Only True Friend. I mean, Southern Blood. What a special relationship you had with Greg Allman. And it was a Grammy nomination, Americana Song of the Year. But never mind all that stuff. It was just your relationship, the two of you together. And and I love like when you play with Eldorado Slim and like you're still playing his music, you're still talking about him, you're keeping him very much alive, that memory. And it must have been quite an honor to be by his side for so many years.
He with Greg, it's like I miss him every day. I've never gotten over that one.
Yeah,
it's just every time I got to go on stage and sing, I still to this day think about him before I go on stage, because he had a power, a God-given talent that you can't teach. And it was in the sound of his voice and his charisma and the way he carried himself. And it was the whole package. And it's very similar to someone like Frank Sinatra or Aretha Franklin or someone like that. It just, when he would go on stage or go into a room, and especially when he would open his mouth and sing, everyone would pay attention. And that talent you do not see. I just saw it recently again with Michael McDonald. You know, I was on this gig at the Troubadour in L.A. when we were out there for the Grammys with Little Feat, and we were doing a tribute to John Hyatt, and I got to sing one of John's songs for him. And I came off, and a bunch of great people played with this house band and all that. And then Michael came up, and they just dismissed the whole band, and he just got up there on a rickety keyboard in this nightclub, and he sang that John Hyatt song, I Have a Little Faith in Me.
Wow.
And I swear to God, man, the second this guy sat down, he started to play, and then when he opened his mouth, it was a whole other gig. And that's like what Greg could do.
Yeah.
Like, you get a few of those voices for every generation of musician. And that goes back to what I was saying before about, you know, it's the drums, the voices, and the rest is luxury. It's like, congratulations, you can sing in tune, you got a great tone, you got good lyrics, you got all this stuff, but do you have one of those voices?
Exactly.
And,
yeah,
you know, you don't need it to have great music at all, because I could name you, I won't, but I could name you a bunch of artists who I really enjoy listening to who don't have like those kind of generational voices.
right.
But man, when you come across those voices, it stops everybody. It's like the gift is in the room. And Greg Allman is one of those examples of that just manifesting itself in a person. And there's fallout from that too, to be that person. Because when you have one of those voices, it's a form of power that's Michael McDonald's a total anomaly, because I've never met a nicer, more together person in any discipline in my life than Michael McDonald. Like, he's the most beautiful guy, and I'm sure that there's some skeletons buried somewhere in his closet. But I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's just this beautiful open book. Every time I've been around him, I'm like, this doesn't even match. But more often you get situations like, you know, what happened with Greg or Sinatra or, you know, Robert Plant, or these guys, you know, they have kind of complicated lives because the power of having that gift can really complicate your personal life.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, is there a documentary coming out on Greg, or am I not thinking of something correctly? Wasn't there something?
I was interviewed at length for one, and I've been getting some paperwork about it, but I haven't heard about it coming out yet. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, because I wish I had information, but even if I did, I probably wouldn't say anything about it, because I know how Hollywood is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, because I mean, they were releasing so many bios right now. Like Billy Joel's was just released, you know, and there's just so many different people that are having this. And I thought I had read something or scrolled on something and saw something being done about Greg Allman as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's something being worked on, and I can tell you that the people who are working on it, they've talked to everybody, and they're really doing something extremely special.
Nice.
That's going to focus on him. It's not going to be about the Allman Brothers Band.
Right.
It's
Greg
going to
Allman.
be about his life, his music, and I can tell you, because the lengthy interviews I've done for it, they're making some of that last decade of work we did kind of the centerpiece of this thing.
Wow.
So it's a very exciting project for me.
Wow.
because and honestly, I was waiting for someone to come along for that, because we had a lot of difficulty with that band. If Greg had survived and performed for another year or two, it would have been very different for everybody, because there was a lot of pieces moving around in his world where I think he would have become sort of internationally famous again. Yeah. And And, he was really putting, when we were getting towards the end, he was starting to put, when the Allman Brothers Band had retired, he came to me and he was like, he wanted to help me with my solo career. And he's like, look, I'm going to do all these festivals. I want to have your band on so you can perform and then you can play with me. And he was kind of trying to help foster my career along as well, which certainly wasn't anything I asked for. And I was flattered by it, but he liked my records and, he covered some of my songs over the years.
Kerosene.
Kerosene twice.
Yeah.
And he used to sing a song of mine called Endless Road too. But, it was really, the timing of his passing was very bad for that. And I always said, well, the thing is that at some point somebody's going to tell the story of the last decade of his life, and it's finally happening. So
Great.
yes, I hope it sees the light of day. It's in production. Who knows?
Right. I hope so too. And then when that comes out, you'll come back hopefully and we'll talk about that. Now, the other band that kicks some serious ass that you're in when you're not doing Little Feat, which seems like you guys are always doing something with Little Feat, but once in a while we get to see you do your own other stuff. And Eldorado Slim, I mean, just the bandmates. Talk about who's in your band, Eldorado Slim.
Well, it's a 6-piece group. Tony Leone from Little Feat's on drums. So you got two guys from Little Feat in it. And we're named after a Little Feat song called Eldorado Slim. That's an instrumental they used to play.
Yeah.
Craig Dreyer's on saxophone and flute, who people have seen play in my bands a lot over the years. Reggie Pittman's on trumpet from J-Mo's band. I met him through the Allman universe. He's worked a lot with Warren Haynes and J-Mo and all those cats. Bobby Allende's on percussion, who I met through Mark Quinones from the Allman Brothers. And Bobby is like world famous, incredible salsa percussionist from New York who's played on a million hit records and stuff. And he's absolutely incredible musician. And we have an organist named Kyle Kohler, who's definitely a local legend. He's from the whole Philly organ sound. So a really funky organ player who also plays bass with his feet and his left hand, which is really something to witness.
Oh my gosh.
And the band is dedicated to my high school of the arts in Milwaukee. I brought in all these in the 90s, early 90s. I brought in all these cuts, these funky Blue Note records and Crusaders, Quincy Jones and Grant Green, Eddie Harris. I was obsessed with all this music in high school, and we had an ensemble, this 8-piece band that used to play all this stuff at assemblies. And, the records, these 70s funk instrumental records were heavily sampled by hip-hop artists. So then we'd have a lot of different kids at the school, rapped and stuff, would jump up with us at assembly and perform with us. And I just started to realize that, this music was so important to me in high school. Kool and the Gang was another group we used to cover all the time.
Oh my God, so good.
So when I was thinking about, I wanted to do something when I'm home with these musicians, but I'm tired of the singer-songwriter thing. I've done 6 albums of that stuff, and I wrote all these songs for Little Feat. I'm writing songs and producing for other artists, and it just felt like I needed to take a break from being a solo artist and doing like a rock band.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, what if I went back to this high school songbook and started to retool it and try to do this again? Because people in high school absolutely loved this book of music. So I started with that book, and then I started to build out from it. And I brought in a couple Allman Brothers tunes to, because I know a lot of people are going to want to hear that stuff. And then when I brought in Eldorado Slim, I said, all right, I'm going to name the group this because it's my tongue-in-cheek way of saying, hey, this is what Tony and I do when we're not touring with Little Feat. We like to do this Eldorado Slim thing because Little Feat hasn't played Eldorado Slim live since like 1974.
Wow,
so,
really?
Yeah, and I haven't really brought it back to the band yet. So I kind of brought it into this thing because I came up with an arrangement that used horns. They never had horns on it. So I came up with this horn-based arrangement since we're a horn-driven band. And but Eldorado Slim is basically like, if I had to sum it up in a sentence, which I've done a very poor job of doing today, it's kind of like when you go to see bands like the Allman Brothers or Tedeschi Trucks or Government Mule or Fish. You go see those bands, and if you get off on those jams that happen, this show is like 2 hours of those jams
Yeah.
without any of the singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very high energy, dance, oriented, funk, all night party kind of jams is what we do. And the entire songbook, except for maybe one or two songs that we occasionally throw in, is from the 70s. It's like from 1970 to 1978 or 9 is like the whole book.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And you guys are bringing it to Woodstock on Friday, August 15th. Colony in Woodstock. Tickets are now available. You can purchase them at colonywoodstock.com. Eldorado Slim. And that's just when you're taking a break from Little Feat, because 2 weeks later, Little Feat is doing a 3-night run over Labor Day weekend at Bearsville Theater, beginning Saturday, August 30th through Monday, September 1st. And you got some real special guests coming too to Bearsville Theater with Little Feat.
Yeah, so this is our first annual Little Feat Fest.
Love it.
Is what I think we're calling it.
Yep, Feat Fest.
And it used to be something called Feat Camp, and it was held in Jamaica, but now we're doing Feat Fest. This is the first annual one, and we're doing it at the Bearsville in Woodstock. And I'm hoping, very selfishly, because though I live in the city full time, I also have a family home in Shokan, New York, and I'm up there at all times, especially in the summer. And I'm hoping that maybe this is something where we come back to the Hudson Valley every year and do this. And this time we have our friends from the area, Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams are the first night. Then a buddy of ours from down south, Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke, who I met Charlie through Greg Allman many years ago. And then Bill Payne and Charlie met up, and we have the same manager now. So that's how that all came together.
That's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then the final night is Robert Randolph driving up from New Jersey to come jam with us. And I've jammed with Robert many, many times in many different awesome situations. Though I don't think he's played with Little Feat before that I can remember or know of. So that might be a first ever. Charlie Starr's played with us before, and Larry and Teresa did a whole year of gigs when Paul Barrere was sick. Actually, how I got the gig was Larry and Teresa did all these gigs with them, and then they couldn't make 2 shows, and they called me, and the first show I showed up to sub for them was the show that Paul died that afternoon.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Wow. What a story.
And that's how I actually ended up in the band. So Larry and Teresa have done tons of great music, and they're actually on a song called Bluegrass Pines on the Strike Up the Band record. They're on that track singing and playing. So we'll be doing that with them at the show too.
Wow. What a weekend that's going to be. Little Feat at Bearsville Theater, Saturday, August 30, August 31, and September 1st. BearsvilleTheater.com for tickets to that. And Eldorado Slim, Colony Woodstock on Friday the 15th. That's just like, I guess, the warm-up. Not that you ever need to be warmed up for anything. But yeah, man. And Little Feat, you're doing like a cruise to Alaska. You're just always doing something. You're busy. And it's amazing. You're doing London. You're going to the UK.
Yeah. So on Sunday we're leaving for a week. We're going to go play in London at the theater at the O2, and then we're doing a lot of flights. It's going to be pretty harrowing. It's only 3 gigs. We're playing London, and then we're playing Utrecht, I think it's called, in Holland.
Oh my God! And I arrive in Holland on the 31st. Wow.
All right. We'll have to get you over to the gig in Utrecht.
Oh my God.
There.
Could you imagine? That would be freaking wild. Oh my God. Yeah.
That'd be very cool.
Oh my.
So let me know if it lines up.
Yeah.
And then we're playing in Oslo, Norway at a festival I've played before called No Todden. And then I'm coming home.
And
so
then you're coming
we're going to be over there for about 6 or 7 days.
Nice. Oh my God. Is there a venue that you haven't played at yet that you want to?
Of course.
Which
Carnegie Hall.
Ah.
How about that?
Practice.
Yeah, it hasn't paid off yet.
Well, how the heck has Little Feat not been at Carnegie Hall? Really? I mean, really, how has that not happened?
Well, we have played the Beacon Theater, which is, my 2 favorite venues so far in the world are the Beacon and the Paradiso in Amsterdam. So,
okay.
And I played the Paradiso 3 times.
But
the Beacon we're going to play again next year with Little Feat, so I'll take that.
yeah,
I mean, the Carnegie Hall. Look, I play really loud guitar. I mean, Carnegie Hall. You got to bring a tiny amp and really kind of rein it in if you want to play electric guitar in there. So there is that about it. But would I love to play there? Of course. But that's someplace I haven't played that I would love to. And also the Hollywood Bowl. I've never played there.
Okay. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. I know that we also have love here in the Hudson Valley for the beautiful Falcon. You've played there numerous times. And yeah, that's kind of like home base here too. Of course, you've been at Levon's. So yeah, I mean, I always consider you like a Hudson Valley person. I know you live in the city, but you're always up here as well. So
well, I do have a house up there, but it is my second residence.
Right.
So it's not up there as much as I'd like to be. My kids go to school in the city, which is awesome for them, and they love it.
Right.
So
right.
I like going back and forth. I enjoy it. I consider it one big family, but it is very confusing, especially in my career, because it's one of those things in a music career where it can work against you because people upstate think he's downstate, people downstate think he's upstate. So
Right.
when I'm home, it's like no one's calling. So but luckily I have a great, like, I have a studio here in Harlem with some friends that that it's like a shared deal, and like I have a lot of work coming in for that, and I teach here and there, and I got a great business with that, especially online, and then I tour. So
Yeah.
I don't need to be in touch all the time, but
No.
I'm definitely an enigma in that respect, because every time I see a musician downstate or upstate, they think I'm in the opposite place full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without fail.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you're like hitting the road hard all the time, which is so cool. And I love the fact that Little Feat is still doing that. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Bearsville this Labor Day weekend. Make your plans now, folks. And Scott, I just reminded myself of something that I'm going to text you off air about. And yeah. So I'm going to ask you something. But you just reminded me of something. So that's cool. Maybe you can help out with something. And anyway, congratulations on this brand new album with Little Feat, Strike Up the Band. It's really cool. I'm going to finish playing the track that I started, which is the title track of that. And then I'll move on to a Eldorado Slim track that you sent over too. And I don't know. I never tire of seeing you. Sometimes I start off and I'm always like rocking and moving and everything when you're playing. And then after a while, I just like stand still because I'm numb by your style and your playing, and you just like stop me in my tracks because you're so damn good at what you do, and you love the music, and it just comes through your whole body, and you're just like genuine musician, and heart and soul is in your music, and there's no pomp and circumstance. You just kick it every single time, and I love that about you, and I'm just so happy for you, and that you've landed in these legendary bands that you grew up listening to. I mean, you can't write a better story, quite honestly, musically. So I'm so happy for you. And I'm glad your wife gave you that advice many decades ago not to get that desk job.
Well, she is Alban is the secret sauce in all of it.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
That's, we've been together now. It's 25 years.
Congratulations. I hope you're doing
rock and roll.
I hope you're doing something special for the wife for the 25th. And I hope you guys have something good planned. Hey, Pete Seeger was nothing without his wife, Toshi. So it's kind of the same thing. You just...
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of great, partnerships throughout the history of music. That's for sure. I mean, when you got it, you got to honor it.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
That's really... And also, I mean, with music, I mean... Yes, we all love music, and music is an essential kind of elixir in life. But for me, family and friends have always come first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
absolutely,
it's a hard thing to prioritize. But especially once you lock it in and start having kids, you start to realize what this whole thing is about.
Right.
And it's really about that. And it makes your music better. It has kind of a side effect because. To be honest with you, at least for me, it was like when I didn't have kids, I was constantly worried about how the music was going. And once I started having kids, I especially once I had 2 kids, it became less possible to worry about anything but
Right.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you just do it.
Yeah.
And when you just do it, sometimes that's the trick to get it unlocked, the really valuable stuff unlocked quicker, you know?
Yeah, it's beautiful. You're living a good one there, Scott. You really are. And you must sometimes get up on that stage, I would guess, and still be like, pinch me, pinch me, pinch me, because, the people that you're playing with, the places that you're playing, and the people you get to play with, not just Little Feat, but all the other people that you're playing with on stage and all over the planet. It's just so cool. And it's really nice to watch the journey with you unfold all these years that I've known you. And again, El Dorado Slim Friday, August 15th at Colony Woodstock. Tickets at colonywoodstock.com. And then, of course, Labor Day weekend, 3 nights in a row at Bearsville Theater with Little Feat. So do both. That's what I say. Do it all. And
two completely different shows.
Yep.
Actually, which is what's so. And by the way, 4 completely different shows, I should say,
Right.
because all 3 nights of that run, we're going to have different guests and different set lists, and it'll be the same thing with El Dorado Slim's, a completely different book. And the only through line between all of it is Tony Leone, and I'll be there on all of them.
Love that. Love
the rest
that.
of it will all change around us.
you got the backbone there together. So Tony's a stand-up guy.
Tony's the best, man. I mean, I tell you, it's like we've known each other a long time through the New York music scene, and I've always loved his playing and hanging out with him. But man, the bond we forged musically and personally playing in Little Feat, and then to be able to do this with El Dorado Slim and do studio work. I mean, I've seen, honestly, I think Tony and I have both grown as musicians a hell of a lot together in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a kind of telepathy when we play together now that's really interesting. So I'm just excited to do some more jams, and especially to hang out at the house upstate and be up there, because that is truly my happy place.
And you get to just leave that house for a couple hours every day and play some great music and then go right back to it. So
it's never that. It's never.
No,
that
I
simple.
know. It's a lot more to it. I know.
But yeah,
But
I might get to grill a few steaks before I'm done.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm guessing there's some barbecuing involved this summer also. So.
That's my professional sport, for sure, is barbecue. Yeah.
In your retirement, you can open up a little barbecue business or sauces or come up with some sort of a thing.
No businesses.
No.
No businesses. No.
Just with friends.
No businesses for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do. My dream is to go to that art school up there.
Oh, the Woodstock School of Art.
The art school.
Yeah. The Woodstock.
I got to figure out how to make enough money at some point. I'm very, very, very far from doing this, where I can just go there and then just occasionally play a gig when I want to. That's my dream in life.
Well, you got a few more years to play, and hey, you never know. You never know.
A few more.
A few more. You're good to go for quite some time.
I'm sure I'm going to end up having to go all the way to the end, but we'll try to have some fun while we do it.
That's absolutely right, and you're definitely doing that, Scott. So I so appreciate your time today, and it's always just an honor and a pleasure to talk with you. I'll be in touch with you, and thank you. I will see you next month, and I'm going to look at Utrecht. I don't know that it will work out, but I am just going to honestly take a quick look tonight when I get home and just see if it works out. I'll certainly be in touch. That would be unbelievable. Wow. Anyway, all right. I'll let you roll because my show is almost up. I'm going to play a few more minutes here of music. Thank you for your time, sir, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Rita. Have a good day.
You as well. Thanks, Scott. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 91.3 WVKR, the legendary Scott Sharrard of Little Feat. Wow. Anyway, I'm going to tell you this, folks, that I'm going to play a few more minutes of that song. Dr. J is in the house with Irie Groove, so stay tuned for that for the top of the hour. Congratulations to the ticket winners today. I'm taking a few weeks off. I'm happy to be taking a few weeks off because I'm doing a little vacay. Don't forget to make your reservations for the LocalMotion 10-year anniversary benefit concert at the Falcon happening Saturday, November 8th. It is almost sold sold out. It's like 75% of the way sold out, and you can make reservations by going to the website liveatthefalcon.com. It's going to feature the best of the best, and let us go out with this particular track that we started. It's the title track of the newest Little Feat